Hi guys, and welcome back. And in today's video we're going to be talking about all things powder blush for mature skin. And I've pulled together a whole lot of my high-end blushes. I've got 5 different brands in front of me with 7 different formulas, and I wanted to take you through these and just show you why they work on mature skin, just to give you some recommendations if this is something that you're looking for. I am going to be doing a video on drugstore and pharmacy brands as well for mature skin, but I thought I'd start this off talking about high-end. So what are a few things to look for in blush for mature skin? Well, as we age, obviously we do get a little bit more texture on our skin. We do have fine lines and wrinkles. So you're going to be looking for a blush that's very finely milled, that's very sheer, and that really blends in beautifully into the skin and is not going to exacerbate your texture, your pores, and your wrinkles. So in this curation, I believe that I have found some really good options that do just that. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is the Estée Lauder Pure Color Envy. And I'm talking about the matte ones specifically. So the one that I have is in the shade Rebellious Rose, and comes in a beautiful weighty container. It does have a mirror as well. And what I absolutely love about this blush is the fact that it is so finely milled. It just blends beautifully onto the skin, and it really is a great option if you have oily skin and you're looking for something that is a little bit matte. You prefer something that is matte on the skin. This one just blends beautifully. It just has an absolutely beautiful texture, and I would really highly recommend anything from the Estée Lauder Pure Color Envy blush range. Then moving on to Bobbi Brown, and I'm going to be talking about one of their bronzers, and this is in the shade Antigua. Now this has been around in South Africa for many years, and in fact the one that I have is quite a few years old. I believe that this has been discontinued in some markets, but as far as I know it is still available in South Africa. And they call this a bronzer, but it's a kind of hybrid between a blush and a bronzer, so it's definitely got a little bit of pink to it. This is a kind of satiny finish, so it's not exactly matte. It just gives you a little bit of sheen on the skin. Again, it's very finely milled. It's just absolutely beautiful and very flattering on mature skin. And one thing you might have just heard me mention is that I have had mine for many years. So I am not one of those people who chucks out my powder products after 2 years, or whenever the expiry date is. I'm definitely somebody that holds onto my products. I don't believe that they go off as fast as they do. I'm very careful with eye products and cream products. Those are a slightly different story. But with blushes, some of these that I'm talking about today, I've had in my collection literally for years, and I haven't turned green. I haven't grown a fungus. Everything is still good. So that's just a personal preference. Obviously, if you are somebody that's very stringent about sell-by dates, then you do you, and don't hang on to things longer than you'd like to. But I really am not a stickler about that. So that's just to clarify that in case some of you were a little bit concerned. So moving on to Clinique. Now Clinique do make some of the best blushes around as far as I'm concerned. In fact, all these brands that I'm talking about do. They really, for me, they just do blush, they're just top notch. So the Clinique one I'm going to be talking about is from their ColourPop range. I have got this in Ginger Lily. Again, it's one that I've had for literally probably 4 or 5 years. You don't get them in South Africa anymore. But this formula is just so beautiful on the skin. I love it because it's got a kind of sheen to it. It's not sparkly at all. It's just got a beautiful sheen that just kind of brings your skin to life, and it just blends gorgeously on textured skin. Again, doesn't exacerbate your texture, and can be built up as well. Really just love the pigmentation in these, so would highly recommend. And then I have another slightly different formula from Clinique, and this is one that comes in the silver pans. This is in the shade Sunset Glow, and it's a kind of hybrid between a mauve shade and a peachy shade. But this one has got a little bit more shimmer to it than the ColourPop versions, but again, just applies absolutely beautifully. It doesn't exacerbate texture. Again, it just it blends in so beautifully, and it just gives you a gorgeous gleam to the skin. So that is another formula that I would really recommend from Clinique. Now moving on to MAC. So I have got two specific formulas that I recommend for mature skin. And the first one is the mineralized blush. And these are generally blushes that have a little bit of a sheen to them. Some have a little bit more of a gleam than others, but I find that at the same time they don't necessarily exacerbate texture and pores. They just, again, are beautiful blushes that bring life to the skin. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is, of course, the iconic Warm Soul. This is just an absolutely beautiful one for mature skin. You don't need a separate highlight because it just kind of gives you that gorgeous all over gleam. And another one that they have in this particular range that I have in my collection is called Petal Power. So it's very similar to Warm Soul, except that it is obviously a lot more pink, but the texture is very similar. And again, it's not going to camouflage your pores, but it's definitely not going to sink into your pores and draw attention to them. So it's, what I can say is that these mineralized blushes are very forgiving on pores and textured skin. So if I can just phrase it like that. Nothing, of course, is going to completely obliterate your fine lines, wrinkles, and texture. But what I'm trying to say is that these blushes are not going to necessarily emphasize those traits. So those are my first recommendations from MAC. And then MAC have the Sheer Tone Blush range. And now the Sheer Tone blushes are matte and very sheer in that a lot of them are highly pigmented, but they're just very kind of easy to blend on the skin. And they just give you, even though they're matte, they kind of bring a luminosity to your skin. The one that I have on that I'm swatching here is the one in Pinch Me. This is just a beautiful warm toned kind of deep pink, orangey pink, and it's a perfect one for giving your cheeks, those just came in from the cold, kind of flushed look. So really beautiful. I have another shade here, and this is in Breath of Plum. This is also gorgeous for fall or winter. It's a mauvey shade, which just again brings a beautiful life to your skin. And then I have one of the iconic, another iconic shade, and this is in the shade Blush Baby. You can see I've also had this one for years. I have hit pan on it. But these are just beautiful because, as the name suggests, they are really sheer on the skin. You can build them up, so you are going to get the pigmentation, but you're going to get the color that kind of gives you that lit from within look, almost like the blush is one with your skin. It's not visibly sitting on the skin. So I really love the sheer tone blushes for that. Then the final brand that I'm talking about is Lancome, and this is from the Blush Subtil range. And the shade that I have got here is called Rose Sable or Rose Sable. And again, it's a matte blush. It's very similar to the MAC sheer tone blushes, but it's just got a very, very light texture. This particular shade is also quite light, so you can build it up. It's very lightly pigmented, but you can definitely build it up. And I love this one because if you're very heavy-handed on your blush like I am, you really can't go wrong with this one. So you can put it on in a hurry. You're not going to end up looking like a clown. It kind of blends itself, and it's just got the silkiest, smoothest texture. So I would really recommend that one from Lancome, or any from the Blush Subtil range. And of course they do have some shimmers in the range as well. I haven't tried any of their shimmers, but I would definitely recommend their mattes. So guys, those are my high-end powder blush recommendations. And of course, don't get stuck on the shades. The shades that I've talked about are shades that are flattering to my skin tone. This is more just to let you know what the textures are like and how they apply. But any of these I would recommend. I also did want to mention that on my cheeks today, I have got the Lancome Rose Sable, and I've topped it off with the Clinique Ginger Pop. Just couldn't resist putting a little bit of this on just to add a little bit of gleam to my cheeks. So now that you've heard my recommendations, please let me know what your recommendations are. Leave a comment in the description box below. I'd love to hear from you. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Ciao, ciao.